Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Lucidi, and on behalf of ParkTrent Properties Group, welcome to the wonderful Grand Hyatt Melbourne, here for the ParkTrent Properties Group Property Seminar. Well, thanks for joining us, Nick. Just wanted to ask you a few questions about the seminar this evening. What advice would you give people attending a ParkTrent conference?
Look, I think very simple philosophies that Ron has, such as negative gearing. I think follow Ron's process, follow Ron's advice. That's probably the thing that I would take out of giving some advice, is follow Ron's advice.
Fantastic, Nick. I'm not sure if you've been to other seminars of this nature, and if so, how did you compare Ron Cross's presentation this evening?
Look, I have been to several presentations by other presenters. I think what I find most interesting with Ron's is the fact that he's a very well-rounded property professional, very sound advice, very sound principles on investing and structuring property investments through superannuation, etc. I think well-rounded is probably the best word I could use there.
Now, many people have described Ron's presentations as life-changing and inspiring. Would you agree with those comments?
Look, I think I'd have to, given the fact that there is a high number of people here, and he's got a high number of repeat, loyal people that have bought property from him and have experienced the benefits of his knowledge and wealth creation. Definitely, I think, one of the better presenters and someone with some good sound advice.
Thank you very much to Nick Marinakis, the International Sales and Marketing Manager for Mirvac. What made tonight so special for you, and what did you learn from the conference tonight?
Well, for me it was being on the other side of 50, and that it's one of those things where I need to make sure that I get things right in the future. And I suppose using my high tax bracket to offset and get some tax gains and that back from the taxman.
Fantastic. So what would you say was the most useful component that you learned out of tonight's presentation?
Well, I suppose that there's diversity in property is important, whereas in the past when I previously looked at them it was all very much centralised, but now properties don't have to be in the inner city.
So I take it you've been to other seminars in the past by the sounds of it, and if so, how would you rate Ron Cross this evening?
Very knowledgeable and pretty well spot on. I think that the properties, as I was saying, that in the inner city areas are probably overdone, and high rent returns can be gained on regional areas.
Well, we're joined by John and Sandra. Thank you for coming tonight. Sandra, what would you say was the most useful thing that you learned about property investment this evening?
I think I found the reason to put the money on the property market. Actually, we already think about a long time. We always think where should we invest our money for the future, for the family, for the next generations, and we never can find a good reason to really persuade ourselves. But tonight, I do. I think the reason Ron actually gave us is, yes, that's the time, and also because of the population in Australia, actually really encouraged us. We can see what's the future of the property investment.
Well, thanks very much for joining us, Lloyd and Yuan. Did you enjoy tonight's seminar?
Yes, we did.
Wonderful. Might just start with you, Lloyd. What was the most useful and important key point that you learned from tonight's seminar?
The key point I learnt that was one could think about investing in new property rather than existing dwellings.
Very, very good answer. And Yuan, I believe that you have a sister in China.
Yes.
ParkTrent Properties Group also have an office there. What would you perhaps say to a loved one, a family member or a friend about investing in property here in Australia?
My sister will come to Australia very soon to visit me. I really like to take her and to the office to show her and investment in Australia, because at the moment I believe she and her husband invest almost in share. But I prefer the property. I think it's more safe. And especially in Australia, I just ask the overseas people can invest the money, and here can buy property. So I think it's good for her because her daughter is here study, and it's good for her future, for her daughter. If her daughter after university want to stay here, so they got a property to stay, and it's much safer the money invest the property rather than share. What I reckon.
Well, we're joined by the beautiful Fur, who's joined ParkTrent Property Group's investment seminar tonight. Fur, just wanted to ask you a couple of questions, and I'll start with, have you been to other property seminars in the past? And if so, what made Ron's presentation so different tonight?
I've been to quite a few, too many, and they're usually quite pushy, and they're usually telling you a lot of why you should go with them and not anybody else. And why I like tonight is, actually, I was wondering, I went up to Ron and I said to him, why didn't you do the hard sell and say why we should go with you? And he said, because all the facts are there, and then it's up to you to make up your mind. And it's probably the most down-to-earth presentation I've ever had.
So you'd say he comes across as a very genuine type character?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think the most important thing for me is I said to him, are you passionate? Is this your passion? And he just lit up. And you know what? He doesn't even look his age. 70
years old and still going strong. And I mean, to say that he'd like to say he'd be back and still be doing presentations in 2023. I mean, I mean, I'd like to know what vitamins he's taking, really.
But that's what actually does it for me, is the fact that you can tell he just loves it.
Absolutely. He's very passionate about what he does. Yeah. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Taz, at the Grand Hyatt here tonight for the ParkTrent Property Seminar. Have you been to other property seminars, and if so, what made Ron's presentation so different tonight?
Okay, Michael. I've been some other seminars before, and I was been attending a similar seminar in different places. But the big difference tonight's seminar is what's Ron presenting is really precise and very clear fashion, which is no need to be a guru to be investing in the property market, but as general people, you can understand what's the trend going on in the next phase or what you can do with the car market level. So that is the best.
Very clear and concise, I believe, Ron's presentation was. I mean, 70 years old, he's been in the business for 45 years. What would you say would be the most useful thing that you learned from tonight's seminar, Taz?
The most useful thing I learned, the time factor. The learning curve is the time factor from his experience because of his with the industry along 45 years, so he's used in experience things, and in terms of my age, I'm like nothing to in front of him. But what I understand is the time is big factor in terms of investment, and another thing is he give a clear picture how you can guess capital or the funding things, which is more important. Like people are scared to get the funding, especially for the loan and all that stuff, but he shows the way how you can, even sometimes with a normal cash flow, you can get another property investment.
It's a very good point you make there, Taz. I think a lot of people who invest in property nowadays are looking for capital growth in a very short period of time, and that's one point that Ron really made clear tonight and concise, was time is the most important ingredient with property investment.
Yes, I totally agree with that point, and it's absolutely because of time is a big factor in terms of today and tomorrow. So what's going to be down today, maybe tomorrow will be the up to. So that's the point of view is very precise timing to go for the investment in the property market, and I wish all we do it 10 years back.
Yeah, don't we all? Just one last question before you go, Taz. Obviously, you must have family, a sister, a brother, or a friend. What advice would you give them now about property investment, and would you recommend them coming to a Ron Cross presentation?
Oh, of course, indeed. Surely, a lot of my friends, they are doing very good in terms of buying the new property and investment property as well. So if I know these things, especially Ron today, I'll bring them, even they don't want to come, grab them to bring here, because it's really such a learning things here, and in terms of them doing the investment to future growth for the, as well as future wealth creation stuff. These are big things, and I hope it will be a great investment in the future for anyone can do it, like to follow his system.